Leila Madam, to reflect upon the concept humanity and social activities. Over to Dr. Leila Madam.
Okay, hello everybody. Can you hear me? Is it possible for me to share something with you, because I made a PowerPoint and I want to share it with you. Is it possible to do that?
Yes, madam, do it. Yes, carry on, madam, carry on.
Yeah, I mean, how can I share my PowerPoint with you?
Share your PowerPoint screen, madam. You share your screen. You can talk on one and
okay.
You share in the other screen.
I just want to share my PowerPoint with you. Yes. I don't know how to do that. I'm sorry. Because I need my PowerPoint. I can't do...
Okay, ma'am, you go through the PowerPoint and speak. You yourself go through. Madam, you follow the PowerPoint and speak.
Okay.
You go through the PowerPoint and speak, madam. If it is not possible to share.
Oh, it's not possible to share?
So you just go through the PowerPoint and speak.
Okay, so, okay, oh, I'm sorry. Okay, can you see me or can you hear me?
Yes, we can see you.
Okay. Hello, everybody, depending on where you are. Good morning, good afternoon. I mean, probably afternoon for you. Thank you, Dr. Mazari, for this, lengthy speech about humanity and the common root of human being, which I agree with you on this. This is so true. And I have a question for you after when I finish with my own, short lecture about humanity and social activities. Okay. And I want to start my lecture with a quote from Aristotle about human nature. He has a famous sentence that man is by nature a social animal. An individual who is unsocial naturally and not accidentally is either beneath our notice or more than human. Society is something that precedes the individual. Anyone who either cannot lead the common life or is so self-sufficient as not to need to, or therefore does not partake of society is either a beast or a god. There is also another quote from the Iranian mystic and poet Rumi, who is a universal, a global figure now. Rumi believes that believes in the interconnectivity of man and its surroundings and nature, as well as identicality of microcosmos and macrocosmos, which is one of the main central themes in Islamic mysticism and Islamic culture in general. And we have it in Ibn Arabi's mysticism as Wahdat al-Wujud, or unification of being, which means that man is interconnected to nature and is not separable from it. So, and with nature, both reflect deity or divinity. And so I'm trying to, oh, I'm sorry. I thought I can share with you my PowerPoint. Okay, that's fine. The definition of social activities. What do I mean by social activities? Social activity is any activity which is society-oriented and pursues common good, communal good that is higher than personal good. Any good which is higher than personal interest or personal benefit is called communal good, to my definition. And at the center of social activities is human being, and this assumption that man deserves a better life, which is achievable through organizations, institutions, NGOs, movements, etc. So there is man, there is a better future for him, which he deserves, and that is why we should try to make a better life for him. This is at the center of any social activity, this to my understanding. Another important point is that in social activities, there is a quest for change and for improvement, and it is not just awareness. So for me, social activity must be practical. It's not just words and awareness. It's a quest for change and improvement. So second question in social activities and humanity is that how are these two connected to each other? How these two have nexus to each other? What is the nexus between humanity and social activities? And how do social activities help us to be a better human being and promote human values such as social justice, such as equality, such as gender equality, such as freedom, happiness, self-respect, etc. In order to answer these questions, one needs to see what makes humanity. At the core of humanity is human values. And I can imagine one can achieve personal flourishing without social activities, but humanity in general flourishes only through non-personal pursuit of good. Human values act like glue, which preserves society and social order from disintegration and annihilation. So much so that the society without values is a Hobbesian society, in which everybody is wolf to his brother and wants to kill it. Here I have a Durkheimian perspective to social values, who believe in the centrality of human values, including religious faiths, in social coherency and normality. So society without social values and religions, which is part of social values, would be disintegrated and lives an abnormal life. The definition of flourishing. Flourishing itself might be understood as a state in which all aspects of person's life are good, which is a very idealistic situation, but it is achievable. Flourishing requires doing or being well in domains including happiness and self-satisfaction, health, both mental and physical, meaning and purpose in life. I can't see this, I'm sorry, I have to meaning and purpose in life, and the state of government and its policies will undeniably, oh, I'm sorry, I just messed up with my, sorry, I'm lost with my PowerPoint because I thought I can share it with you. Okay. And probably it's better to do it through Zoom, because through Zoom I have the ability to, and the fourth one is close connection to each other. Social activities are our pathway to communal virtues and flourishing on a non-personal level as two components of humanity. But social activities must also pay due attention to other important issues such as effective government and well-functioning financial and economic systems. Because corrupt and badly functioning systems will not only reverse the impact of social activities, but also will affect the quality of life and its purpose in a very negative way. So the state of government and its policies will undeniably influence human values and the flourishing of life. And pertinent to this is a purpose-oriented human values, such as self-respect, freedom, justice, gender equality, etc. Another important question that I want to delve into is if personal activities, even the pursuit of personal interest, even being greedy in the worst case scenario, can play any role in humanity and the promotion of human values. Because due to the existence of an essentialist approach to social activities, it's always assumed that one must sacrifice himself or herself as well as their personal interest in order to be able to serve humanity. Like a martyr, for instance, who gives his life to save a country. But this approach is essentialist and it is not sufficient, because in my opinion, one can still be greedy, be selfish, can still be greedy and selfish and serve humanity and a higher good, which is communal good. And I will argue for that. Because at the moment, there is a debate in America where I reside that, I mean, people like Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon, or I mean, these big names, mega rich, mega million people who makes millions of dollars each year, or Elon Musk, who are so selfish, so greedy, they cannot, there is a debate at the moment that these guys are against humanity. They cannot contribute to our humanity and our human values because they are too greedy, they exploit others. But in my opinion, even in such a situation, which is a worst case scenario, people like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg, these people can serve humanity as well. Why? Because I believe that by building big businesses and by hiring people, they bring money to people's pockets, they bring breads to people's tables. So even being selfish and pursuing your own benefits, you can share humanity and contribute to human values as well. There is another important aspect to human values and humanity, which is women and social activities. There is a long debate in feminism that women play a more important role in social activities. And it is actually part of ecofeminism, because in ecofeminism and socialist trends in feminism, women are part of nature and actually play more important role than men in social activities. Why? Because they can reproduce themselves by pregnancy, by giving birth, and that is why they are like nature. Nature is productive, women are productive too, so they are interconnected and they are identical. So they can share to human activities and to humanity more than men. And I believe in this. By involvement in social activities, women not only help others, but empower themselves as well. Social activities by women and in the organizations established by them can create high-level corporate leadership for gender equality. It can also ensure the health, well-being, and safety for all workers, whether male or female. It can also promote education, training, and professional development for women. It can also changes for better humanity for both sexes, women and men. It can also champion equality through community initiative and advocacy. And last but not least, it can help women to create a better future for themselves. And another important part of social activities, as the term sounds, is how we should put these beautiful ideas into action. How can we put all these beautiful ideas that we people are interconnected to each other, Islamic mysticism, Hinduism, Buddhism, I believe in all of them, but how can we put them into action? There are many ways that one can contribute to humanity. For instance, you can found an NGO, you can establish an NGO, you can donate to an NGO, you can create jobs, you can draw attention to domestic abuse against women and children. You can do volunteering, which is very, very fashionable and I mean, very popular in America. People do lots of volunteering. You can see, for instance, they are professors of high-ranking universities in Harvard, but they can do volunteerings and contribute to humanity. You can do financial helps to those who need it. And the last point that I want to emphasize on is the importance of social media. We live in a globalized world. We live in a world which is a village. We are all interconnected to each other, not because we are all human beings, but because we live in a world that any small movement in a remote part of the world affect the whole world. I mean, in less than a few hours. So we can utilize social media to not only make awareness about humanity and human causes and human values, but also make changes. Because as I said at the beginning of my lecture, the point of humanity is to make positive changes for better life. So we can use social media to flourish humanity. So unfortunately, I was hopeful that I can share my PowerPoint with you because I spent the whole Saturday yesterday working on my PowerPoint, but I mean, I cannot share it with you and I cannot hide myself behind my PowerPoint and touch. So I just opened a small window here and half of it were gone. I'm so sorry. So that was my lecture, and I wish it was through Zoom and I could share it with you. You see it, you saw it, and I talked to you. But next time, please put my lecture through Zoom. It is more convenient and more practical. And Dr. Mazari said most of the things that I wanted to say. Thank you so much. Thank you to all of you to giving me such an opportunity to be part of this amazing philosophy family. And I am ready to answer any question or any inquiries that you have.
Wonderful, wonderful. Please, but wonderful, madam.
Thank you.
Now it is over to Dr. K.M. Nara Rao to moderate the session. Over to Dr. Rao, sir.
Thank you. Namaskar, everybody. Thank you, Professor Das, for giving me this opportunity to put forth before the speakers the different questions that I find in the chat box. First of all, I find a question by Professor Srinivasan Iyer. He says...
just call me Leila. My last name is funny. Just call me Leila, which is more convenient. I am not really into titles. I am a humble woman.
Okay, so nice of you, ma'am. Okay. So, it is for Professor Hamidullah, sir. Actually, it's a question by Srinivasan Iyer. He says, the scriptures that we have in different religions, they do speak of humanity, human values, human relationship, and many sages and personalities, great personalities over the ages, they have been the messengers of the divinity of God, to bring about a change in the mindset of people so that they can live in peace, they can live in togetherness. But this is not happening in the modern world. So how do you say this, and what would be your suggestion on this issue? Over to Professor Hamidullah.
Thank you very much. A very good question, a very, I should say, philosophical question as well, and very relevant question. So Leila has also explained some of the activities through which we can make our viewpoint deciphered and listened by the people who are at the helm of affairs. But so far as the understanding about the human values and human teachings, humanitarian aspects of religion are concerned, these are not being highlighted, let me tell you. People are using religion for non-religious purposes. Religion has to graduate to spirituality. Otherwise, it is just intolerance and nothing else. If religion is being used for non-spiritual purposes, for the mundane purposes, for getting power, for getting, aggrandizement and other things, and to creating hatred among the communities, so this is not religion at all. As a student of religions, there is not only one religion, but religions of the world. I have been teaching religions of the world for last 30 years. I have found that all the religions are promoting values, norms, and understanding. If that understanding is missing, then I think that religions have lost their essence. Or the people who are teaching those religions, they have lost their direction. Or the syllabi which we have created on the lines which are suiting to us because of our various personal agendas, whatever. So somewhere we have gone wrong. So if we want really to promote peace through religion, as you have rightly said, sir, that all the religions have preached gospel of truth, gospel of love. But why it is not happening? There is only one reason for that. The people who are religious, really, they are silent. And the people who are not religious, they are making use of religion for other purposes than religious purposes. And third point is that we are not serious about religion in modern times. We are serious about everything, but not religion. Religion has become just collective unconscious. Since we have inherited it, so we want to defend it. We are not ready to study other religions. As Max Muller has rightly said, to study one religion is to study nothing. We don't know the sensibilities of our brethren who are our neighbors. I don't know what are the sensibilities of Sikhs, Hindus, Christians, Jews. I just want to impose myself on them.
I have a question for you.
Yeah, just I have completed. No, now you can ask. Okay, thank you. I have just completed. Okay. You please.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Sorry for interruption. I'm so sorry. It's a question for me. It's a very personal question. You know, in Islamic culture, jihad is very important, right? I'm not talking about spiritual jihad. Spiritual jihad is also important. It's part of mysticism. I think in any religion, the core of any religion is mysticism, is irfan. You have to make a better person out of yourself. I'm not talking about that. I am talking about the jihad that we see it in Afghanistan, in some parts of Pakistan, some parts of the world, even my country, Iran. I mean, I don't want to talk about other countries to offend others. Jihad is a value in Islamic culture. But do you think it's a universal value or it is against humanity? I am Muslim too, but I am a brave, I try to be, neutral. It's hard in human sciences. It's really hard to be neutral, to stay away from your issue and to, discuss it. But let's face it, jihad is really important, okay, and has been important since the beginning of Islam. Islam is a missionary religion, right? Countries like Iran, like India, like Egypt, like part of Roman Empire were opened to Islam by jihad. But is it a universal value too? No, it is not. So some values are not universal. When I was working on my lecture, I thought that humanity has lots of things to share: love, understanding, respect, freedom, happiness. But jihad is something should be singled out. So when we talk about Islamic background of things Islam has in common with other religions, it's better to only focus on the core of Islam or the mysticism.
Yeah.
Right?
You're right. Yeah. Just can I respond? Can I respond?
Yes, of course. I'm sorry.
It is really a very good question, and this question has been asked to me at many places, and I love to reply this question.
Thank you.
And I am happy that you have also asked this question, and we should ask it. Muslims should also ask this question, not only non-Muslims, because we should introspect where we have gone wrong and where we have defamed our religion. Why not in earlier times people were abusing Islam like this as they are doing nowadays? There is something wrong with us also, let me tell you.
That's
and
right.
the best introspection is the self-introspection. But I will tell you, once Bruce Lawrence, who is also your friend, I have seen, and my friend also. So he had come to Indian Institute of Islamic Studies, Delhi, and he spoke on jihad. It was in the late 80s. Late 80s. And he told everything about jihad, as nowadays people say. I was a young man those days, but not young boy, young man. I stood up. I asked a question. I said, sir, you have just talked about jihad, but you have not talked about jihad fi sabilillah. And you could not differentiate between harab, qital, and jihad. And I told him that Quran has mentioned jihad in Makkah also, and there was no fighting with the weapons. And that was jihad built for knowledge, for understanding, for communication, for dialogue. So problem is this word jihad has been defamed by Muslims as well as by non-Muslims both. Jihad is basically as once there was one professor from Hinduism, Professor Sharmaji. He said that what a type of jihad Islam has advocated, that has been advocated also in Gita, to fight against your own interests and all those greed and caprice and other things. And he said he said that in Gita this war has been mentioned, which is against the greed and evil. But nowadays jihad has been considered only in political terms. It is not political, as you rightly said. But the problem is neither Muslims nor the scholars of Islam who are not Muslims, Orientalists, are trying to give the actual connotations of jihad. Secondly, as I said already, that religion is being used for non-religious purposes. It is institutions, it is terminology, and it is different type of values, whether eternal or temporary, as you said. And I don't say that jihad is an eternal value, let me tell you. Jihad has been sometimes when there was self-defense, they used to do it for self-defense. And it was in Makkah. Prophet remained there in Makkah for 13 years. He never resorted to any type of violence, you know that. And when he reached to Medina, and they were under attack, and they defended only themselves, and that is considered to be defensive jihad, difai jang, as has been said by many scholars. So in this way, this doctrine needs to be explained by the Muslims themselves in a better way. What people are doing on the name of religion can't be imposed on religion at all. The religion is, there are many people who are just doing many things wrong on the name of Christianity, on the name of Buddhism, on the name of this religion and that religion. Can we attribute those wrong things, vices to that religion? No. As scholars, as students, we should always try to be just, to see what is the actual connotation of each and every aspect of any religion, whether Hinduism, whether Christianity, whether Buddhism. But you are right. The problem with us is that scholars are not coming to explain the actual terms themselves. They leave those to the imagination or the exploitation of others who are using these terms for different things which are not religious at all, which are just based on misconceptions, ignorance, or some personal interests. And those are being considered as religious.
You want to say something? Yes, madam.
Yeah, I want to add something else.
Yeah,
I agree with Professor Mazari that this is misconception, misunderstanding, but this is part of our faith and it is in the Quran. You cannot change it.
yeah,
This is the first point. The second point is that it's sometimes, it is in part a matter of political power. Some stupid Talibs, they are stupid, they are out of mind in Saudi Arabia, in my country, in Afghanistan, Pakistan. When it's a matter of political power, you do everything. You exploit some Quranic terms and then put them in action against innocent people, right? It started from the Sahara of Saudi Arabia, those who attacked America 20 years ago, September 11th, right? Before that, we didn't have such a thing. So it's a matter of political power and economic power. When you are rich, when you have oil money, you exploit your power and exploit the word of God and use it against humanity, right? This what is happening in Afghanistan now, Taliban. They have power, they have weapon, they have gun, they have economic money. So they misuse their power, they use jihad against human beings. But in my understanding, jihad has a spiritual dimension too, and it is more important than the non-spiritual dimension. Jihad is to do effort to make yourself a better human being. Right? It is self-building. It is... You need to be a better human being. Jihad is it is the meaning of jihad. It's in mysticism. That is why we have to focus on the mystical message of Islam. If we want to be part of the world, and if we want to be able to open a dialogue with other religions like Hinduism, Buddhism, Christianity, Judaism, because there is no other way. This is my understanding.
Yeah. Basically, let me just say one point, although the questions also have been asked to you and me both on the ball. So here I want to say that as a student of Islamic studies and comparative religions and philosophy, I have written on the subject. On this subject I have written, and I have shown that the jihad is mentioned in Meccan life also. Meccan, when Prophet ﷺ was there, and he was in such a very condition, and he has not fought anywhere there in Mecca. Rather, he was persecuted there, and he was pressurized to move from Mecca to Medina. Such was the persecution there, and you know that, everyone knows that. And in Medina also, he did not resort to any violence at all. When the Meccans attacked him, then he defended himself. So let us see things from the real perspective, from the scriptural point perspective. What people are doing on the name of religion, whether any religion, I don't single out any one religion, every religion is being misused by its so-called advocates. And let us not impose those things on religion which people are doing. Better understanding will dawn only when we'll be doing dispassionately, scholarly, intellectual discourses and try to understand actual nuances of any religion. For example, tell me, these were the Tamil Tigers who were also suicide bombers once. They were also. And it was also, for example, we can know Burma, what happened there in Burma. How many people were killed? Who killed them? And Buddhism is very passionate religion. Very good religion. I know Corona is there, but Buddhists also used sometimes these injections or whatever they had for wrong purpose. In the same way, Christians also in Bosnia, what they did, so many Muslims were killed in Bosnia, and it is not the fault of one community, and it is a misuse of religion. Whosoever is doing that, and it should not be attributed to religion. Let me tell you, let us attribute it to the persons, countries, and people rather than religion. Let us have dispassionate study and comparative study of all religions.
Let me intervene. Professor, since he is an Islamic scholar, whether we can treat jihad as a human value. In single sentence, can we treat jihad as a human value? Because what my understanding of jihad, what I have gathered from I'm not an authority on Islamic texts, that within ourselves, it is a fight between good and evil within one's own self. That is jihad. But externally, this concept has been taken and has been grossly misused by the Islamic countries. And not only at this stage, it was Gandhi himself. He also deciphered this problem that all the civilization all the religions, they are associated with violence, with some form or other. And jihad is one of that. Although we don't find at length the discussion by Gandhi on jihad, but Gandhi says it is only Hinduism which alone can be a religion where we don't find any violence. So violence in Hinduism, actually Gandhi includes all these Buddhism, Jainism and all these things, a broad spectrum view of Hinduism. So, but for this reason, how would you like to say that jihad is a human value? Because it is the humanness that matters in humanity. Thank you, sir. I have other things to say. Sorry to intervene. Please.
Sir, put on your microphone, sir. Professor Hamidullah, put on your microphone.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, it's okay. I am audible. Okay.
Now you are audible.
Basically, it is very good that we are discussing. We need to discuss these things, but in scholarly manner, not in as media channels are doing nowadays. They are crying horse. But we need to understand dispassionately different concepts which are being used by people for doing many things, whether Muslims, Hindus, Christians, Jews, whosoever they are. And we need a dispassionate analysis of all without bias. And tell me where religion is being not used for violence. Tell me any place in the world. And such people who claim to be non-violent, they have become so violent sometimes. we feel surprised what has happened. Where has gone that peace, that love, that karuna? Something has happened somewhere. Everything has been politicized beyond proportions. Everything has been politicized. And politics has taken the central stage. Power has taken the central stage. And people want to become gods themselves. And they want to replace God and kill others. No one else has right on anyone else's life. As Quran says, if a person kills an innocent person as he has killed whole humanity, how a person can kill any innocent? No one has any right to kill anyone, whether a Muslim or a non-Muslim, whosoever he or she is. But the problem is, it is not value at all. Jihad is just a mechanism to defend yourself when you are under attack, just for defense. But second point, it has a positive value when you are fighting against your own carnal desires. It has been said in one of the sayings of the Prophet, Rajana min jihad asgar ila jihad akbar. We have come from a smaller war to a bigger war, that is to fight with our own carnal desires. And it has been said, Jahidu ahwaakum kama tujahiduna a'daakum. You fight against your own lust and desires as you fight your enemies, more than you are fighting your enemies. Your best enemies and worst enemies are your desires. And al-mujahidu man jahada nafsahu fi ta'atillah. A mujahid is a person who is fighting his own carnal self to make it obedient to God. And tell me, if you are really fighting for the cause of God with your own self, how you can fight with others? Never. Sufis have not done it. Islam has not been separate to the world by such type of means. And this is just, discourse people are making, and see what has happened to the West. Clash of civilizations. They are teaching us lessons of love and peace, and they are promoting the theories of clash of civilizations. Now the civilizations have to clash. And is not this violent, theorization about human nature. So in this way, we can't attribute such type of tendencies to one single religion, and it is not a human value or non-human value at all. It is just a mechanism, as I mentioned already. As Sharma ji used to say that in Gita, we have been also mentioned about that whenever there's adharma, against adharma, Arjuna has to fight. Adharma within you, adharma within outside you. So that you have to fight. And that is in all religions. As Jesus Christ has said, I have not been sent to send peace but to sword. So it is in Torah also. It is also in the Bible. So we can't single out one religion that these tendencies are there. But this is not a permanent human value at all. It is just one of the teachings of Islam, and basic teachings are more than these. And as Professor Srivastava has rightly said, that we need to concentrate on those issues which are common. And as Leila ji has rightly said, let us talk about the commonalities rather than differences. And there are so many commonalities where we need to engage our attention rather than discuss these particular issues. And these can be also discussed within our own communities once we have reached to some common ground of meeting. And we can meet at many places. There are many places where we can meet, but why we want to meet there where we can't meet? There's a problem. And that's a problem with us. Philosophers can help us in order to dissipate all these doubts. And as a student of philosophy and religion, I have been doing it all along. Wherever I go, I always explain these things. And alhamdulillah, I have found that people from all communities, they accept when you present things in a nice way. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. May I ask a question?
Please.
Thanks for the presentations. I have two questions for the first speaker and one for the second speaker. Sir, you are talking of humanism. It's a very nice way of presentation, very nice thing. But when it is too much humanism, then we find sometimes it becomes rigid, narrow, and if the question of thinking, Duncan, misses, then it comes with problem. And Martin Heidegger raises this question. He asks this question to Sartre. He writes a letter, and later it is published letter to humanism. I want to ask, how will this thinking be created? How will this event come? What is the way for this event? Second thing is that I find two problems in the discourse of religion. One is of interpretation, and second is of the feeling of perfection, that I am the perfect. And here, if you follow epistemological imperfection, then perhaps the space for dialogue will be created. And for the second speaker, I had this question of techne and technology. Techne becomes virtue. Aristotle talks of 5 different virtues, intellectual virtues apart from moral virtues, and techne is one of them, art. But when it comes with logos, technology, it has many problems. Heidegger also writes critique of technology. When you talk of Elon Musk, so what is your vision for this techne, the open course of becoming? That's all. Thank you.
Should I respond first or ladies first?
Yes, sir. Yes, you respond first.
Yeah, men first, eh? No problem. Even if madam wants to reply, okay. Basically, what you said, right? You're right, sir. Then when we are just talking about humanism, this means that we have some weakness. When you talk about something more and more, there is some weakness in us. Otherwise, what is the need of talking at all? Maybe we are just used to it now. We want to discuss these things because we do have these things. So we want to discuss these things. And that is, you are right. Sometimes we become bored by such type of discussion. Everyone is claiming that we have a lot of humanity, we have a lot of peace, but there is no peace in the world. Someone is creating disturbance in the world, and those are the people belonging to this way or that way of life. So my point, you are right, sir, that we need to basically try to make these values a living experience, rather than only the matter of discussions and debates. Let debates lead to clarity of mind, and clarity of mind leads to action. And let us have some joint action, as Leila has rightly said. Let us have some such type of platforms where we can exchange our ideas, experiences, so that we can become good human beings, and we can exchange humanity, we can exchange love, we can exchange, greetings when there are occasions, rather than discussing. And your second question was pertaining to, I have forgotten, because when we ask many questions in one go, so can you repeat, sir? The second
question. It was on the problem of interpretation. Everybody is thinking that I am the perfect.
You're right, sir. So this is the problem. You know that the interpretation of these 6 blind men who were to just discover the elephant in the jungle, and that has been Nikantwad and Syadwad. So that's the problem with us all, that interpretation, sometimes words kill, interpretation save. Sometimes interpretation kill, but words save. Texts can save us. We are not going direct to the texts. We are going to the contexts in most cases and interpretations. We have become captives of interpretations. Scriptures are open for all, but there is hegemony of some people on the scriptures, and they want to interpret them the way they want in order to have control on masses. And there's a problem. Let us liberate the scriptures from the clergy. This is a very important aspect. Religion has to be open to all, so that people may interpret. Had Iqbal been captive of the interpretation of the mullah, he would have never given a very, very humanistic approach to Islam. And Dr. Ali Shaiti, he was from Iran, and he had his own view about Islam, and I am so much impressed by him. And then other philosophers and scholars, they did not leave scripture at the mercy of a particular class. And I was just very much fascinated by Aurobindo Ghosh's interpretation about Vedas, how he has tried to give a totally different interpretation of Vedas and Upanishads. So let the scholars, philosophers, as has been said by also Ibn Rushd, Averroes, philosophers can better interpret religion than their clergy in many ways. Let philosophers come to fore and explain things for us, rather than make us captives of the interpretations. Let words be more read than the interpretations. Let us try to go to the semantics and essence of religion, rather than get lost in the plethora of interpretations which are contradictory and confusing sometimes. Let scripture speak for us rather than the people. So that is a very important point. Sola scriptura, as was said by this Martin Luther. So he could liberate people from the West, from the clergy, and a new renaissance, started there in the West. In our part of the world also, we need some such type of understanding of scripture on our own, rather than being, always motivated by the interpretation of this man or that man. As there's a great Indian scholar whose name was Shahwalullah Dehlevi. He was from Delhi. He said, Hum Rijal, wa Nahnu Rijal, wa Bainana Sijal. They were the people, we are the people. Sometimes they may be wrong, sometimes we may be wrong. Sometimes they may be right, sometimes we may. Why not to study on our own the scripture rather than go by the interpretation of the scripture? And interpretations are based on the conditioning of the people, times and interests and everything. But scriptures are open, as has been said by Schopenhauer about Upanishads. These are like the fresh breeze. These are solace of my life and solace of my death. So when I also read Upanishads or Gita and books of other religions, I feel a freshness in many, and I find that what people are doing, this is not in their scripture. They are wrong in their scripture even. So that gives you a fresh understanding. For example, if you read Quran, you'll be transported to some other world. And you'll find Muslims are not following their Quran at all. They are doing something else. You'll find they are away from Quran. And when I read Gita and I read other books of religions, I find that people are not following the religion. They are following something else. I don't know what. So in this way, interpretations really are creating problems for us. And we need to have hermeneutics as well. Hermeneutics and also a new interpretation and comparative study of the religions. And let me tell you. And to study one religion is to study none. And if we do that, you'll find a lot of things are common. And we can reach to the commonalities rather than the differences and the conflicts. Thank you. Madam.
Professor, yes, Dr. Ghosh want to say something. Yes, sir.
Please.
Yes, Professor Dr. Ghosh.
Thank you, Dr. Rao. I want to relate both the speakers, what both the speakers have said. Now, my question is, can we just divide the present scenario as something which is pre-pandemic and which is post-pandemic? Because in the pre-pandemic situation, we find humanity in a very negative characterization of humanity. We find that people are more misanthropists, they are more alienated, they are more dehumanized. But there was a spiritual guidance for all to be human. So this is the pre-pandemic period. But in the post-pandemic period, humanity or being human has become a compulsion rather, because we are still undergoing the pandemic, the mysterious pandemic, the situation of mysterious pandemic. So it has become a compulsion for all of us. And how would you react to this, that humanity is to be viewed from a standpoint?
Leila Madam wants to respond.
Madam
wants to respond. Yes, Madam.
Please.
Yes, Madam. Yes.
Yeah.
Madam, please unmute. Madam, please unmute.
Okay, thank you so much. But honestly, I disagree with you about pre-pandemic humanity and post-pandemic humanity. Do you know why? Because, I mean, it's very, very, I mean, it is not clear what, I'm so sorry to be blatant and open. It is not clear what you want. I understand what you want to say, but it is not a good perspective of look at things. Because after any disaster or any catastrophic things, for instance, after the Second World War, humanity came together again to do something against the Second World War and Holocaust and etc., etc. But again, as the things settled down, we came back to what we've been before. You know what I'm saying? It's just a wave. It's just a wave after pandemic, that we people became aware of the situation. We became nice to each other or nicer to each other. We try to understand each other. We try to be more human and humane. But when things settle down, when this dust settle down, settles down and we come back to normalcy, we will become what we were before. So we cannot divide humanity in the short term. Yes, we can say that, for instance, 2 years after pandemic or 1 year after pandemic, as we are leaving the pandemic, we are approaching normalcy, we are better people. But in the long term, you cannot come up with a theory. You cannot come up with a theory or a doctrine that we have two categories of humanity, pre-pandemic or post-pandemic. No, we can't. I'm sorry. But that was a good point. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, madam, for your response. And also to thank Professor Hamidullah for his responses to the different questions, especially the question raised by Professor Srinivasan and the subsequent questions raised by Leila madam and Professor Ranjit Ghosh. Well, 2 to 3 good takes that I could have from Professor Hamidullah's response. First, he said that the real purpose of religion lies in searching the spirit within. But the people are using religion for the non-religious people. And who are these people? These are the people who are actually non-religious, but they claim to be greatly religious. This is a matter of great concern, and we should be aware of this. And we need to be very much careful about this, because as Professor said, that the people who are really religious are very much silent. That's the problem again. And the people who are actually non-religious, they are coming out, speaking, having their voices, expressing ideas in a conflicting way, thereby bringing about a lot of disharmony. So that's the problem that we have got to see. And the third thing, making a reference to jihad, which Madam Leila has raised, very nicely Professor Hamidullah has tried to answer it by saying that jihad is, the idea of jihad requires a lot of self-introspection. It is all about knowledge. It is all about fighting against evil. It is all about fighting against injustice. And also he brought in the ideas from Bhagavad Gita to say that it's all about protection of dharma. So very nicely he has tried to bring in the ideas contained in Bhagavad Gita with the element of jihad, and taking from Professor Ghosh as what he has said, that jihad is more of an, it's a fight within between good and bad, and it's all to make ourselves to elevate as better human beings. So these are the good things that has come from this. And from the poster that has been raised by Professor Rakesh Singh, he talked of the problem of interpretation that comes as a great barricade when we go with the maxim that I am the perfect, wherein there is no place for interreligious dialogue, and that creates a problem for the religions to come together to resolve the conflict. As long as we create boundaries to not to transcend these boundaries, there is always a problem. So the modern world requires that each of the religions should cross their boundaries to see what other religions are practicing, what are the good practices that they have. Not that we should think that our religion is perfect, rather we should come out to see what good things are practiced in other religions. There should be a platform for give and take, so that we can transcend from what we have to get in, to incorporate the good things from other fields, from other religions, so that we can reach at a sort of essence of all religions that Professor Hamidullah was talking all about. So very good take from the entire response. Thank you very much, sir, for your response, and also thank Professor Ghosh and Leila madam, and also Rakesh Singh for making their observation. Thank you very much, madam. Thank you, sir.
Thank you everybody for inviting me. That was really awesome, and I want to be part of this family. Yeah. So I want to attend your speeches, I mean, as much as I can, because Sundays are closed here, but I love this discussion.
Yeah. I also love these discussions. We all should be part of it.
Okay.
Thank you.
In future.
Please do.
Okay.
Professor Rajneesh and your questions were very good, mashallah.
Thank you very much for the presentations and discussions, sir.
Thank you.
And
I got an
Thank you.
idea from you, Rakesh. I got an idea from you that
thank you.
yeah, techne and technology. Probably it's a good perspective to look at the Quran or other scriptures. You know what I'm saying? Thank you so much. That was a good point.
Thank you. And I would also like to join this philosophy family. I'm not part of this family. Tell me how to. I teach philosophy in University of Delhi, Zakir Hussain
great.
Delhi College.
Great.
Yeah.
I had been the student of JNU. I used to come to Delhi again and again.
I did my PhD from JNU only, sir.
Oh, that's good. Nice.
Sir, you just write your WhatsApp number here.
Yeah, I will definitely give it.
Sir.
Professor Rakesh Singh, please write your WhatsApp number in the chat box so that we can incorporate you in the philosophy family. That's what Professor Das is saying. Now, before we end up, let us have one question. It's really a good question, actually, by Narinder Kaur. Yes, he says, actually, it's a question, well, I feel that is addressed to Leila Madam. He wants to know, well, she talked of personal good. And he says, how can personal good turn to be a sort of communal good? Because he says, if somebody is doing good without harming others around, there is no problem. If he's doing something good and there is that is good to himself and there is no harm to others, so why not we copy from him and make him a model so that we also elevate to be better human beings? So how do you say this, madam? How do you say that?
I mean,
Is this transition really possible from individual good to a sort of communal good? How do you say this, madam?
So the question is, I mean, I said that personal good cannot be communal good. No, let me rephrase it again. For me, communal good, I mean, brings about changes. This is the first point. And communal good, it's something that relates to a group, to a society, to an organization bigger than person, bigger than individual. Yes, personal good, as long as it's directed.
Sorry. Excuse me. Sorry. Is it communal good or common good? You were talking about common good, but communal good is something different.
Oh, common good. Yeah, now I got it. Common good.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Oh, I got it. Common good. Yes, common good. It's something for society, for a bigger unit, that human being, that individual. So, I mean, for me, personal good cannot be a common good. Common good is the sum result of many personal goods. Personal good is different from common good. You can do something good. And others benefit from it. For instance, I said that. For instance, you can even be selfish, be greedy, but others benefit from it. For instance, I make a business here in America. It is very common here, actually. I might be a mega rich person like Jeff Bezos. I make millions of dollars each year, and people benefit from me. I found Amazon. I go to space. I do things for, human cellulars. They do it. He does it at the moment. Out of my greed and my fame and my reputation, because I want to make my name big. And humanity benefits from it. But I myself don't call it a common good. Common good must be targeted intentionally in order to be a common good. This is my understanding. I don't know, probably I am mistaken. I don't know.
Don't you think that the American billionaires who are trying to part with some of their wealth for the benefit of the mankind, is it not transferring of the personal good into the common good? How do you say this? It is definitely a common good because they are parting some of their wealth for the benefit of the humanity. So it is a common good that they are in their mind. We don't know, but most of them, and you see in all the corporate culture, there is a corporate social responsibility, CSR, and that CSR is meant for this common good by the industry concern. So individual good also can become a role model for the common good. This is what you have
Okay.
to think about.
Thank you. Yeah, I got it. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, Professor Ghosh. But one thing, let me make it here. Well, common good is more comprehensive. But when you talk of communal good, it is a social good. It is a group, it's like certain group.
Common good, yes.
Common good is more comprehensive, but when you talk of communal good, it is for a certain group, it is a certain part, it is for a certain society. So that's how we have to make our differentiation here. Well, thank you. Well, we have many questions, but we cannot take all because
Can I make one intervention? One intervention, just
yes, sir. Welcome, sir. Welcome.
To basically what Professor Leila ji said and Professor Ranjit ji and Rakesh ji said and others. Basically, we have to make little bit difference between the aggrandizement and second is philanthropy. If you are doing something for the philanthropic purposes, no one can question your intentions. But if you are just trying to get different type of benefits or privileges after showing off your wealth and spending that for so-called human welfare schemes, but there is some design behind, and you want to get more and more wealth or something else or prestige, and then aggrandizement. So that can't be called as common good at all, because there should be means as well as the end should be fair. If means are good but end is not good, so that is not also fair. If end is not good and means are good, so we need to be fair, as Kant has said about, and other philosophers have talked about that. We need to balance between the means and ends, and we have to call a common good, which is really common in intentions as well as in the impact and consequences. No, it should not be used for some other reason than philanthropic purposes. So that's my.
So in this connection, I would add that we have to go to Plato in Phaedrus, where he says that what is good and what is not good, shall I ask anybody to tell me so? So this is the situation. We don't know. Maybe the philanthropist, their philanthropistic attitude of the billionaires of US. We have to find out the positivity in it, definitely, because humanity itself is based on the positivity, is to look into the positivity in others. So why should we think? Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Leila madam. Thank you, Ghosh sir and Hamidullah sir. Well, there are some questions, but we cannot take. Now I request, because of the paucity of time, it's already 8:30. I feel, let me welcome our admin, Professor Pramodkumar Das, to have final lines on the entire course of the webinar. Over to Professor Das.
I like this. What does that mean? Means hello. I like it.
Namaskar to all of you. I really enjoyed both the talks. It was wonderful. I shall speak few lines because I can't resist myself. The topic was humanity. Humanity in general and humanity from the perspective of a social activity. So we all know, we all experience that human beings have three possibilities: the animality, humanity, and divinity. Basically, we are animals. We can't deny this reality that we are animals like other animals. And we claim that we are rational animals. And from that rationality, we claim that we are social and we are so and so. We are better than animals. Similarly, there is another possibility, that is divinity. So how can we understand in the common sense the lower man, the higher man, and the highest man? The lower possibility, the higher possibility, and the highest possibility. When we speak of God, Ishvara, Allah, gestures, conflicts arise. But when we shall speak of a higher personality, a higher being, a higher state of consciousness, higher existence, there is no conflict. Similarly, there is a lower state of consciousness, lower state of existence, that is animality, sensuous existence, rational existence. Similarly, a better existence, existence of a higher level of consciousness. According to these three possibilities, we human beings have developed three types of science: the material science, the physical science, that focus on the material aspect of our existence. Man is confined to the laboratory. Here man becomes a commodity. Man becomes the value of man becomes a material value. The relation is also is give and take relation, selfish relation, because everything is termed, everything is valued in the material sense. My money, my status, your status, my degree, your degree. And science also believes in that. This is a type of science. Perception is the only source of knowledge. Experimentation is the only way of inquiry. We are confined in the scientific laboratories. We don't see the outside world. But there is another possibility, that is the intellectual ability, rational ability. When we think and when we exercise the discriminative power, that means we can discriminate from good, between good and bad, right and wrong. That is called Viveka Jnana, or the discriminative knowledge, the rational ability. From this, we create the social sciences. All social sciences, they are meant for encouraging and propagating, inspiring the social values. And this is also, from these social values, Madam spoke of both awareness and practice, awareness and change, because we are socially oriented. So one is our physical base that is necessary. Therefore in Patanjali Yoga, therefore in Yoga Sadhana, in the spiritual discipline, that is, there we take care of our body. Jama, asana, pranayam, all these practices, yogic practices, they focus on the physical discipline. We should take care of our body. We should take care of our wealth. Otherwise we can't exist, because that is the base. So that science is also meaningful. But that is not the only meaning of life. What is the crisis today? The crisis is the crisis of humanity. Animality is not lost in animals. Divinity is not lost in divine. But humanity is lost in human beings. It is only because of the misuse of rationality. Therefore, we by virtue of rationality, man learns, man knows how to use and misuse, the rational power. Therefore, there is a crisis of humanity. There is no crisis of animality. Therefore, in the Vedas, it is said, Manurbhava, be a human being. It is an insulting word. Man is asked to be a man. An animal is not asked to be an animal. We don't say dog, be a dog, because a dog is naturally a dog. We don't say, oh God, become God. But unfortunately, we address a man, be a man, because there is a possibility of not becoming a man. So man is the only species in this earth who is highly intelligent, who is very wise, who can make all types of changes, social changes, but at the same time, that man can condemn the entire social values in the name of a jihad, in the name of a religion. So beyond these physical science and social sciences, there is another science that is called spiritual science. But science does not admit this, that there is at all a spiritual science. That spiritual science makes us aware of the possibility of going beyond all contradictions, all misunderstandings, all relativities, all diversities. That spiritual science is the science of unity. So humanity cannot be maintained by rationality, because rationality has a double process. It can be used and it can be misused. Humanity can only be maintained by a higher possibility if man will be spiritual by sanskara, by disposition, by education. One has to become that, one has to live with that higher level of consciousness. Professor Hamidullah Maraji and Professor Leila Madam spoke very beautifully about these things. Madam spoke only 10 minutes or 15 minutes, but her every word was so powerful, and she focused on the change, and this change is also accepted in science. The science claims that everything, every moment is a moment of change. Everything is changing. If everything is changing, why not our thought? Why not our mindset? Why do not we change with the change of the time? That is the crisis today. So we have to change our mindset. We have to transform. Education means transform. So humanity is lost in human beings. That is the only crisis. Therefore, we are doing such discussion. Therefore, it is said, Manur Bhava, be a man. I really enjoyed both the talks. It is speechless. It is beyond all possible appreciations. If we shall give any appreciation, that will limit your personalities. So it is beyond appreciation. We shall invite you, sir and madam, again and again with new topics. It is not important that who spoke for 1 hour and who spoke for 10 minutes. The important is what message they gave, what message was passed through this forum, what we learned from this discussion. Thank you, thank you. We the philosophy family is very much grateful to both the speakers. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Das. You talked of the lost humanity in human beings. So it's a matter of great concern, and it's a great crisis that the modern world is facing. So thank you very much. So we should end up the interaction session now. Let us move to Dr. Kailash Chandra Maharana, sir, for carrying on the further proceedings. Over to Dr. Maharana.
Hello, Dr. Rao. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible, very much audible.
Actually, I do not want to add anything. Today, we all have been greatly benefited by the talk of Professor Hamid and Professor Madam Leila. Today, we have been also greatly motivated and benefited by the talk by the observation made by Professor Daw. So I would like to request you to offer to propose a vote of thanks. Hello, Dr. Rao. Over to Dr. Rao.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir, for giving me this opportunity to thank everybody connected with this platform. At first, I would like to thank both the speakers, Professor Hamidullah and Leila Madam, for being so good in their talks and for the messages that they have given. Okay, they are from, Madam is from a very distant land, and she gave a very good message to all of us that we need to rediscover ourselves. We need to be human beings first before we are anything. We brand ourselves as something. We need to say to ourselves that we are really human beings and we have a human concern, and that should be the spirit in all the activities that we carry on. So I thank you, madam, and so thank Professor Hamidullah for being so comprehensive in taking different religions and finding a parallel between the different religions, and he sees the commonality that different religions have to offer. It is only because the non-religious people come to speak, come take the driver's seat of different religions, that there is controversy. At the core, if we talk to really religious people, there is no controversy at all. All the religions, they share a common platform, they say the same thing, they say the fundamental issues and they deal with the issues in similar ways. But it is only when religion falls into the hands of non-religious people, lot of voices come in that conflict one another, and that is the cause of intolerance, mutual non-acceptance, a lot of chaos that the modern world is experiencing. So we need to keep religion in the safe hands of really religious people, and that is a great message that Professor Hamidullah has given. The really religious people, it's time now for them to raise their voice and to play their part, to come forward, to express that the religious people at the core, they have no differences. They share the common ideas and they share the ideas of humanity. They understand human beings and they want to be human beings, and they want to make this world as human as possible. So that is the idea that is contained in all the religions, but somehow we have missed the point and we have placed religions in different controversial peoples who don't understand the basis, who have no idea of what the religions really communicate, what sort of message that the religions have to offer. So there lies the great problem, and it's a great message from Professor Hamidullah that we need to understand that the religious people have to, who are the people who are really religious, they should wake up to assert themselves with greater conviction that the real message of all religions is one, and that is the message of humanity. So thank you both the speakers for your talks, and I should also thank Professor Ranjit Ghosh for actively involving himself and is unmuting and making his point clear. So it's really a great message for all of us. We should do that, because whenever he feels like asserting, he is correcting and he's adding up to the views of both the speakers, and that's how even Ranjit Ghosh's presence and his ideas have greatly helped us to understand the issue in a much better way. And we should also thank Dr. Rakesh Singh and Narinder Kaur, and even our admin, Professor Pramod Kumar Das, for sharing their views and making this webinar so comprehensive and so successful. So the message from this webinar is so good, it is so cool, it is so peaceful, and it's so calm that we need to understand that we are all human beings and our purpose is only human service. Thank you, and I would like to thank all the participants who are here for having patient hearing and being connected with us for around more than 2 hours. So their patience should also be respected because they are connected with us. So thanks everybody for making this webinar so beautiful. And also thank Professor Srinivasan who raised a beautiful question to which Professor Hamidullah has very nicely responded. So I thank everybody for being so good and for their participation in this webinar to make this webinar so successful. So I thank everybody with a namaskaram.
With this meeting is closed. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Leila. Thank you, Professor Hamidullah. Thank you.